day out there. Would you get back so the video can see the players, coaches, please?
We appreciate you appreciating us.
Yes, that's it.
Get the ESPN
Everybody good?
personality out of the drill.
Tell me when we're ready here. Everybody ready? Whoops, can't fumble. Don't turn it over. Tuck it away.
No drops.
No drops. Again. No drops.
Gotta earn your reps.
We good? Come on, Charlie. Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
All right, practice has been going well. You have to balance as a head coach the balance of number of injuries as compared to how much you hit. We had a live goal line scrimmage today. So, but you got to push them. You got to be in great shape. You got to be out in the sun because it's going to be hot when we open up. And at the same time, you got to hope you don't get guys hurt. And every year, everybody gets guys hurt. You turn on TV and you see guys across the country that are getting hurt. So we got to play. And usually, what camp does, it separates guys from the ones that can get an edge every day, the ones that are mature enough to play every day, and the ones that can stay healthy. And then those are the ones you play with, and the other guys become backups, and that's what it is. But today we're here to talk about something else. We're going to talk about Tez Walker. Tez Walker we're trying to secure his immediate eligibility. He's a two-time transfer. We submitted a waiver, and the waiver was denied. And we filed an appeal. We're waiting to hear back. Under the rules, when Tez transferred, he was enrolled, but he met the criteria for a transfer to be automatically eligible. On January 9th, he transferred. On January 11th, they changed the rule and said it was going to be more difficult for two-time transfers to be eligible.
Coach, he enrolled in classes.
He enrolled in classes in January 9th. And then the NCAA changed the rule January 11th. The NCAA indicated approval of his waiver at that time, but that was before the change of the waiver directive. Tez has only played football at one school and should be considered a first-time transfer. He went to East Tennessee State and hurt his knee, and he didn't go to school there. He signed with them. So when he hurt his knee, they made him a gray shirt, and they deferred his enrollment back, so he didn't get to play at East Tennessee State. So then he enrolled at UNC, North Carolina Central. When he enrolled at North Carolina Central, they canceled football season in the fall because of COVID. He stayed for the spring. They canceled football for the spring because of COVID. So then he transferred because he wasn't going to get to play because he sat out a full year. So here he is. He's already missed 2 years and hasn't played any. And he goes to Kent State, and he plays there for 2 years. And his head coach, his offensive coordinator, and his wide receiver coach left. And then he felt like he would have the one-time transfer to get here. And he was coming back here to be closer to home, because North Carolina was his dream school, but also his grandmother had never seen him play. And she was not healthy, and she couldn't go to Kent State to see him play. And now we're opening up in Charlotte. That'll be the first time she'll be able to see him play, and she basically was very, very important in raising him. And it's very important in his life that she see him play, and we've got, 8 games in the state of North Carolina, so she's going to see a lot of games that she couldn't. Kent State fully supports him being eligible, which is a major factor in the eligibility of the new directive. They understand and want him to be eligible. They have written a letter about his eligibility. His reasons for transferring, like I said, it's closer to home, be closer to his grandmother, who is dealing with bad health issues. We've even got to look at how we can help her, where she would sit and how she would get into the stadium when she comes here. And she was a huge role in his upbringing. Health issues, she just can't travel. So items to consider. Tez has only played football at one school due to the circumstances that were out of his control. So it's not like he is a normal two-time transfer. He's played at one school. And he transferred. His first enrollment was deferred because he got hurt. Secondly, they canceled the season, fall and spring, so he wasn't going to be able to play. And that's why he transferred. He's not one of these kids that's transferring every year to get to a different place in his life. And he transferred to get closer to home because of his grandmother, and that's really, really important to him. He's followed all the rules, and then the rules were changed. And we feel very, very good moving forward that the NCAA will look at this and understand this isn't a normal case of a double transfer, and they will go ahead and accept the appeal and let him be able to play when we open up for the season. Mental health is huge in all kids' lives. He's really struggling, and that's why we're coming out and saying this. He's been down. Here he is. He made a decision based on what was best for him, that he thought was within the rules, and for his grandmother and his family. And now we're sitting here 4 weeks from game time and just waiting to see if he's going to play. So he has to practice every day, not knowing if he's even going to have an opportunity to play. So when we look at what transfer rules are for, and we look at the best for mental health, there's absolutely no doubt that this is a mental health issue for Tez, because it's putting way too much pressure on him, and that's a major talking point for Charlie Baker, the new NCAA director, which I'm hearing great things about. But we're asking them to look at this. So he sat out in 2019 because of an ACL. He sat out in 2020 because of COVID. Then he went to Kent State for 2 years. He had a 3.7 GPA, and this spring he had a 3.0 GPA. So he's done everything right. He's done it within the rules. When the waiver was denied, we know that there's at one time a lot of people were just across the board being given eligibility with transfers. Now it's different. They're trying to be really tight on it, but this is an example we feel like that fits the transfer rule perfectly, and we're just reaching out to try to help Tez. Questions?
When did you find out that he was denied here the most recent time?
A couple of weeks ago. And then we've been preparing an appeal since that time, and that all has to go through compliance to the NCAA.
So he enrolls January 9th. I remember because I remember when they came in, and then this happens on the 11th. They come down and say, how come that didn't fit in some kind of grandfather clause?
We can't answer that. That's why we're reaching out. We think it should have been a grandfather clause, and even if it isn't grandfathered, we think because he has never transferred twice to play, because he was leaving the places he left, he couldn't play. So this is not the normal situation, and Kent State's all in and all their coaches left. So we feel like that this should be a no-brainer, and that it's getting late, and there's tremendous pressure on him, and we would like to see him ruled eligible.
Mack, are you giving some sort of expected timeline as to when this may kind of get resolved before the first weekend?
We can't have a timeline, right? All we can do, we have placed the appeal in, and now it's on them to give us an answer.
Mack, you said
But every day that he doesn't get an answer, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on him mentally. I feel really bad for him. I mean, his body language is bad. He's struggling. Here he is. I read today he's up for the Blettman in preseason award and not sure he can play.
Have you had a player, just real quick, have you had a player either here or Texas or otherwise where something similar has happened with the
Yes, it was over a test score at Texas, and it was denied, and then he won the appeal.
Yeah, you just said obviously mentally this has just had a really huge impact on him. What are the conversations with him now?
Well, I can't say what personal conversations are, but he's really struggled like I would. If you think any of us that were told you transfer, he's a top pro prospect. He's transferring in here for all the right reasons, and then he's told he can't play. How would we feel? It'd be really tough on me. So he's just down. He's wondering. He's anxious, and it's really, really hard to focus and practice. And I feel tough for him.
Mack, when you say you found out a couple weeks ago that this was going to be a problem, were you worried that was coming, or did this sort of blindside you all?
When he transferred, we thought it was an absolute no-brainer because he fits every reason that transfers should be eligible. And then we were really, really surprised when it was denied and disappointed.
Given the fact that the NCAA is approving so many things now, is it quite head scratching that this is something that they haven't approved?
It is. When the NCAA right now is they're doing so much for the care of the student athlete, mental health, financially, for parents, that's why this fits in all the group of things that they're talking about helping student athletes with, and that's why we feel like that this should be a no-brainer, and we need it done sooner than later because it's really stressful for him.
So,
And it's not about us. It's not about playing. It's not about practice. It's about him and his mental health.
I mean, I don't want this to sound silly, but do you keep working him out as your number one guy on the outside, or do you have to adjust the way you practice?
No, we're working him as the number one guy because we feel like that this is when the NCAA really understands what this is about, he will be eligible. So we don't think there's any way that the NCAA would keep this young man in this situation. If we're about student athletes, and if we're about student athlete care, and if we're about mental health, there's no way that he can be denied to play for the season.
You mentioned the mental health a couple of times. It's also keeping him with the blue team also part of the mental health aspect. So
absolutely, for him and others around him.
Yeah.
So, and we've been very open and very direct with it, but he's really struggling, and rightfully so. Like I said, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Because we all want what's best for young people, and this isn't about an unfair advantage. This isn't about they're not doing anywhere else. This is about everything the NCAA says it's about, and that's why we think it should happen. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to bring in Lonnie Galloway as well to talk about tennis.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.